Hi and welcome to a brand new show. This is Offshore 101. And for those of you who know me and know our company, you know that we are great believers in offshoring. We've got a fantastic team, one of whom is behind the camera right now. We've got a fantastic team based in the Philippines, 4 people. And the man behind that, who I've known for quite some time, is going to be the host ongoing on this show. Hopefully he's going to make me redundant. Stephen Atcheler. G'day Stephen, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, Kevin.
Good man, nice to see you there, nice backdrop too. But anyway mate, welcome to the show. And let's talk a little bit about you and also talk a little bit about the show. And hopefully we can dig into a little bit of information about outsourcing. But firstly, tell me a little bit about Stephen Atcheler.
So, Stephen Atcheler is currently living over in the Philippines, been here about 3 years, but if we backtrack all the way to how I actually got here. So real estate is what got me into the Philippines, and obviously the offshoring with real estate. How I got into real estate, back in the day I used to be a personal trainer. I wasn't very good at school, so I followed basically the advice of mum and dad. Look, you like gym, go and do the gym. So I did that. Wasn't particularly good at people's emotions and worrying about their weight loss, but geez, I was good at getting clients, and that was noticed by my first boss, Greg Jackson, who hired me to be a salesperson. So from, just about to turn 19, got my first job in real estate, and he employed me to be a salesperson.
Mate, what was, just talking about that, and I think it's fantastic that you've got that real estate experience, because you know, with the thing I've found with outsourcing is that when you're dealing with someone who understands real estate, it makes it so much easier. We'll talk about more about that later in this series. But can you tell me about your first sale? Because there's always an interesting story, there is with me, about the first sale. What was yours like?
Well, funny you say that. I didn't actually find my first sale funny until I was asked to speak at UPS over here in the Philippines and just talking about real estate and my first sale, and the whole audience was wetting themselves laughing. So apparently it is funny. I don't know if you'll find it as funny as I do. So going back to real estate, back 2006, January I first started, and I had no listings. So my boss said, look, you can call the buyer's log. So it was pretty old school. We had a log of buyers, which was very normal back then. So I'd just ring through calling everyone, and I booked this appointment to show 26 Skinner Street with this guy named Chris. I'll get into that later. My boss at the time, manager, said, don't even waste your time with that guy. He's seen everything. He will never buy anything. So anyway, I book him in, I get to the property, and he gets out of the car, and he's got one of the sticks. He's actually blind. His brothers brought him there and he couldn't see. My first thought was, hey, he hasn't seen everything. That's what made the audience laugh. But look, literally this guy hadn't seen a property. He's blind. His brother lived around the corner. He wanted this house. So I showed him around the property. And that's how I learned to ask them also, how do you feel about the home? Because he couldn't see it. He was touching all the walls, touching the kitchen. And the scary thing was, he said, I understand all these old roofs on these 1920s homes, that the tin or the iron could be rusted. Do you mind if I get on the roof? So I'm thinking, wow. Blind man, ladder, roof, if he falls off, whose problem is that? Getting a little bit nervous, but yep, took him up on the roof. He felt every single bolt and stud and whatnot to make sure it wasn't rusted. Slowly found his way down, said he would take it. I was like, okay. He came into the office, he paid asking price, and my boss literally looked at me like I was God. And I was like, see, he hadn't seen everything. And that was how I made my first sale, and that's no word of a lie, that's exactly how it happened.
Yeah, and the reason I was delighted for you to tell that story is because there is an interesting story behind every sale. But I think the bottom line there is that new people to anything don't know what they don't know. I remember my first sale, and it'll only be 30 seconds, but it was actually a property that had been on the market for quite some time, a couple of years. And when it was sold, I didn't know it had been on the market that long. And the reaction from the team was, how the hell did you sell that? It's been on the market for so long. And I think it's fantastic, isn't it? That enthusiasm that a new agent can bring. And I think that's why consumers should never be afraid of using a new agent. They may not be up on all the skills of the seasoned agents, but they bring a level of enthusiasm and they don't know what they don't know. And I think that's a great lesson. Anyway, enough of that. Mate, let's move on. I want to talk about this show. Why have we created this show? And just to lead into that, could I just say that I've had many experiences with offshore staff. Some have been very good, some have been very, very poor, but I can tell you all the poor ones I've had are really my fault because I wasn't prepared. And that's the one thing that I think we need to achieve with this show, Stephen, is that we need to make people prepared for offshoring. If you're going to employ people in the Philippines or wherever, you've got to make sure that you have the responsibility for properly training them. And I think that's probably an appropriate introduction, Stephen.
100%. It's going to be an educational show, but the things I picked up because I started offshoring in my real estate business, I learned to be extremely systemized, and I had to go and learn these things to actually start offshoring. And that's probably one of the things as real estate business owners, like a lot of us are school dropouts, or we didn't go to university. We're just people that get in there, we love sales, or we love property management, and then as a result of that, the logical business to start is a real estate business. But we don't have any actual business systems training and know how to scale and onboard staff. So like some of these things, even hiring locally can be very new to us. So yeah, I want to go from the basics and then go to the next level where we can create some serious automation and get the business streamlined and running on a global sort of scale with some high talented low cost staff on the other side of the world. So the guys in office can just be smashing it out, producing day to day.
Well, I just want to make another point about that too, and this is another lesson I learned because someone said to me when I first started outsourcing, have you got your systems in place? Yeah, of course I have, no problems. But, you know, systems documented can only tell you so much because in the day-to-day environment, in an office environment, when you've got people around you, you can very quickly be answering questions for them and think that you've got your systems nailed down. But what you're going to experience in the weeks and months to come in this show is just how detailed those descriptions and those job tasks can be laid out, because that's one thing that I've learnt from Stephen that he is particularly good at, and we're going to enjoy bringing you that, giving you a lot of information. So be prepared, because for every show, at the end of every show, we're going to give you a detailed download and a lot of very powerful information. Anything you want to add to that, Stephen?
Yeah, and some of the things I get the question all the time is what can they do? And this show is going to be about not what can they do, it's what can you get them to do. Like I have some really sophisticated stuff going on that it's hard for anyone in any country to do this, but I went and took the time to learn it myself so I could train it to someone else and get rid of that task. So it's not just about low value tasks. I want to show everyone how you can turn an offshore staff member into an extremely valuable part of the team, but not have that same price tag.
Okay, well, on that point, our first show, which is going to be coming up in a week's time, we're going to start taking you into those systems. But before we do, I think it's important to, and you might just give us a bit of a quick preview here, Stephen, but I think it's important to understand what can actually be outsourced, anything, but what would you like to outsource? And I think there's two distinct areas there, Stephen.
Yeah, totally. And there's, at this first stage, when you're new to it, we're going to talk about hitting some of the low-hanging fruit while you're still learning how to present these tasks and how to identify which tasks to get rid of quickly and buy a little bit of time back so you can get your head above water and start planning the rest of them. So yeah, just how to get started and how to implement as quickly as possible and the best way to move that over here.
Okay, anything else you wanted to add before we close this show off?
No, I think that's perfect. I'm looking forward to our show.
Me too. And I've got to make a point here. For those of you who are regular viewers, you'll know that I think this is the first time I've ever worn a suit coat on one of these shows. I don't know how long I'll keep it up. It's just that Stephen wanted this on the first show. He's wearing one, so it'll be interesting to see how long. Tell me this, Stephen, do you wear one every day to work?
100% not. But on this video, for the viewers behind, if I didn't say that, you'd think that every day. But no, it's 35 degrees over here most days and very muggy. It's either, there's two seasons, extremely hot or extremely wet. And both of those don't suit wearing a coat.
Well, we'll just see how long it takes into the series for us to see the real Stephen Atcheler and what he does wear to work. And I've seen it. And it's probably not something we'd want to show you in one of these shows. But anyway, he scrubs up pretty well.
So we keep the aircon off so that there's no noise. So the longer the show goes on, the clothes come off. Get excited.
Okay, well, we'll try and make them all around about this length. Hey, mate, great talking to you. Look forward to catching up next week. Make sure you join us too. I'm Kevin Turner and Stephen Atcheler for Offshore 101, teaching you how to do exactly that. We'll look forward to catching up with you again next week. Stephen, see you then.
Cheers, see you then.